Hi folks, members of the Avon Garden Club. I'm Kathy Deprey, and this is the Zoom version of the November Garden Club program. And I will be moving us back and forth from screen to screen. And fabric printing from your garden and kitchen using foods and gadgets and other items from your kitchen. And here we go. So we'll be gathering supplies, setting up the workspace, selecting your printing tools, preparing your materials, decorating the fabric, and then showing up for a project. All right, so we're going to get supplies. Basically, if you're working on a table, you're going to have a tablecloth of some sort. I'm doing a small space here. This is just a placemat, but you want some kind of table covering for sure. Tablecloth, and then you want also some plastic to protect your tablecloth. Keep the paints from bleeding through. So this would be a large plastic tablecloth. And then I'm also going to put paper on my workspace, plain paper. And I've got a few layers here so that the printing has some cushioning to it and captures more of the design. I also have a sheet of plain paper, just your basic plain computer paper, to practice and test the printing materials, see how much paint you've got, if you have too much, too little. I've got a regular dinner plate, and I've also got styrofoam meat trays, always a chance to reuse, repurpose, for spreading out the paints, for dipping our printing items into. So I've got a plate, and I've got the styrofoam. Paper towels are nearby, never know. I have one sponge. This one you can tell has already been used a bit for this project. Damp sponge I'm going to turn into an ink pad for some of the items. So plate, meat styrofoam tray for spreading out the paints, damp sponge for an ink pad. A paintbrush for touch-ups or for painting onto other items. I'll just put that there, you can see that. I'm going to be printing on a flour sack dish towel. You can buy these at Walmart in packs of 5. They're white. They're a nice dish towel. They wash well. When you get these, if this is what you're going to be using, you want to launder it and iron it real good. Because when they come out of the package, they're very crinkly, crepey. So this has been washed and ironed. I'll be working on this space. I'm going to decorate each of the corners with different designs just for the fun of it. You might want to decorate one corner. You might want to decorate the entire towel, however much space and however much design you want to put on there. Okay. You could also buy plain white napkins or a plain white cotton apron if you want to decorate an apron. This could be for you, it could be for gifts. Originally, this was going to be a hands-on group project at the community club with the whole garden club. Michelle Spears and Carrie Quinn were going to help. We were going to lead you all through doing this at tables around the garden club meeting. We were going to have lots of samples, lots of paints, lots of helpers, but you know, things are different now. So you're doing this at home, following along with this video, or watching it later. It's almost like watching Captain Kangaroo when you had your little shoe box with your paints and your scissors and your glue. So I am your Captain Kangaroo. All right, I've got acrylic paints. Just for variety's sake, I've got white and black, blue and green, red and yellow, because you know you can mix anything else you want from those. You probably have experience mixing paints. These are just Apple brand acrylic paints. I got them at Walmart for 50 cents each. So you can't beat that, especially if you're doing gifts. These things might have gone into the pancake breakfast boutique, but instead they can go in your Christmas stockings. So I've got my paints, and I've got brush, I've got a cutting board, and a sharp knife, because some of the items I'm going to use are food products, and I'm going to cut them into the stamping print that I want. Okay, so you cover your work table, layers to pad the printing process. Don't use newspaper, by the way, as your paper underlayer. The ink might smear onto your artwork. So you want to have some kind of plain paper. Could be wrapping paper, anything like that. Laying out your tools, gather all your paints and other stuff, damp sponge. And then you're going to select what it is that you want to print with. You might want to use just food items. You might want to use other items around the kitchen or from your garden. I can show you at near the end of this video samples of things that did and did not work. It's always nice to know that with somebody else's experience, what doesn't work. I'm going to take you back to the PowerPoint and show you some of the next slides. Okay, so we've gathered your supplies and all that. We're getting set up. Table covers, plain paper. You can view all these slides later on also when you want to work more slowly. These are all the supplies that you've got. Flat sponge, paintbrushes. The item that you're going to actually print on, the paints, a cup of water. I don't have a cup of water. I'm not going to be cleaning things today. And your cutting board, sharp knife. You're setting up your workspace, which I've already shown you and talked you through. And then selecting your print tools. Foods, geometric, combination of those. You can make a pattern with one item. You can make actual scenes. I'll show you some of those. Here are some interesting things to try. I have okra. See me up in the corner. I will show you this more close when I actually work with this. So I have okra. I have celery, a whole bunch of celery. I don't have walnut shell, citrus, corn on the cob. I do have a pepper. It's not a bell pepper, but it's got some shape to it. You're looking for things that have some kind of shape when you cut them. Next one. Okay. Okra, I'm going to cut straight across the stem end, and I'm going to remove any seeds. Celery, I'm going to cut close to the base. If you're using like a lemon or an orange, cut across the middle, but then dig out the pulp so that the segments and the rind and all shows up well. But I've tried this. Sometimes the citrus needs to sit on paper towel for a day, actually, before it is less juicy. Bell pepper, apple you can carve into it like you carve into a potato. Cauliflower and broccoli, I'll show you what happens if you cut broccoli in half and use that for a stamping surface. Curly pepper, mushroom, made a nice little mushroom shape when you print with it. A potato, you can cut that in half, and if you did this with kids or grandkids, you can cut a stamp design into the flat surface of your potato. But if you're doing like letters, numbers, monogram, be sure you do a mirror image, because when you stamp, you don't want it to come out backwards. Okay, other things, I've got some glasses here. I've got a pencil. I don't have my potato masher out right now. Fork. I've got a water bottle. And you'll find other things around. You'll start looking for interesting things to use. All right, so let me come back to me full screen. So I've got my area spread out. I've got my paints kind of ready. So I'm going to take the okra. Cut right across there. And I'm going to dig out any seeds that look like they're too close to the surface, because they would interfere with this cool design that okra does. It's going to look like a beautiful flower blossom. And I'm going to set this on my paper towel to drain just a bit, because I don't want my paint and the okra to be too juicy. I have a bell pepper that I've already cut a piece out of. It's not really a bell pepper, it's more of a giant jalapeno. But that's going to give me at least some interesting shape there. With the celery, I'm going to cut the base of the celery. I found one that is pretty round. It's a fairly intact, round bunch of celery. Even if you've got one that has a stalk or two missing, you're still going to be able to come up with an interesting design. So I'm going to cut quite a bit of the stalks off, and I'm going to leave the heart. I might come back and use one of those stalks. I'll show you one of those designs too. This is pretty wet, so I'm going to let this drain for a bit, also on the paper towel. But I've got a good flat surface. It's going to capture the paint completely across there. So that's going to sit and drain. I've got 3, let's call it 4 different organic items. So these might be from your fridge. You might have okra in your garden. These are all going to be available, and I'm letting them drain. So while that drains, I'm going to show you what else you can use. I've got forks and spoons. I have glasses. I have a water bottle. I'm going to just do some geometric stuff with the forks. And I think I'll use the styrofoam tray. How about blue? Okay, so a bit of blue paint. I'm going to move it around a little bit. I'm going to be able to show you the results more up close, but at this point I don't want to move the camera. All right, so I've got paint on the back of the fork. I've gone directly into the paint in the tray here. Oh, get that out of the way. I don't need to use a damp sponge as an ink pad when it's a hard item like a fork or a spoon or a potato masher. So I'm just going to lay it down on there. Get some more paint. Can't quite see this yet, but a little bit. So I'm going to keep going and make a little bit more of this design. You can also test out your design on the white paper. I've done this a number of times, so I kind of have an idea of what I'm going for, but you may want to try out your paint to see how well it covers or if it's too gloppy. Or if you've diluted it, make sure it's not too diluted. And I'm just going to keep going like this until it looks like my paint's getting a little weak. I can always add more. And I think I'll carry this up to the camera and show you what I've got so far. Okay, this is just using forks. And you can continue that all the way across the towel. You can start adding other colors to it. You can crisscross them. I'll do a couple crisscross. I'll do some with the blue. And we can add some other colors. How about blue and red? We'll just make it look good. So it's just more paint. Simple acrylic paint. I'm using a different fork just because I don't want to take time out here to wash the first fork, the one that's got the blue paint on it. All right. So we can change the pattern somewhat by adding colors across. We can do any number of variations when you start practicing. All right, so I'll bring this up front too. So it's just forks, just forks. So I've got blue and red overlapping, or you can just go back and forth, whatever you want to do. This is simply your design, no rules. I'm going to do something with other geometrics while the vegetables are still kind of draining onto the paper towel. So I've got a jar and I've got 2 small glasses. Let's do, how about green? Do some green circles. And I'm going to need more space. So this is not totally on the fly, but kind of. So a little bit of green paint. I'm going to mesh it around, make sure that I get the edge of this jar completely loaded with paint. You can always check it, of course, by printing onto your white paper, or you just kind of eyeball it, and you see you've got green paint all the way around the edge of the jar. Okay, I don't know if you can see that there is the green paint. So a little bit in the way of geometrics. Green circles, just a plain old jar. You can use lids of all kinds of things. Then I'm going to do different size glass inside. At the end of this presentation, when I get back to the slides, I'm going to show you a number of different combinations, and I'll explain what the materials were, which foods, which kitchen tools I've used. So this is the 3rd size glass. These are just 3 glasses, all the same paint. And you can do the circles all kinds of colors. You can have them overlap. You can be doing any number of things with circles. Make a whole giant polka dot dish towel. All kinds of opportunities. Lots of options. Now a couple of spoons. So I will just do this with black. We've got a red, we've got a blue, we've got a green. Might as well do a black. I'll show you what you can do with a spoon edge. I'm not going to use the whole bowl of the spoon. I haven't tried that. I'm simply running the spoon. I'm just putting the spoon into the paint along the edge. And then on the cloth, I'm just rolling it again. I'm rolling it from one side to the other. Depending on your spoon, depending on the combination of where you put it, you can make it look like feathers, roof shingles, birds in flight. The possibilities are just limited by your imagination. And this is a very imaginative group, so we should see some pretty astounding stuff when you've done yours. This is just taking a spoon, rolling it through the paint from side to side, and then doing the same thing on the towel. So there it is. That's just using the spoon edge. So far we've seen fork, glasses or jar lids, spoon. Now I think the vegetables are ready to be used. I'm going to use red for the celery heart because I want to show you a rose. I'm going to make a rose for the celery. So I need to go back to my red paint. And actually, because this is a vegetable product, you know, a softer thing, I'm going to use my damp sponge and turn it into an ink pad, just because it works better for the vegetables to get the paint spread out on. So I'm just spreading paint out on the damp sponge using my red fork. Spreading the paint out on the damp sponge. I'm turning this into an ink pad. You can also, by the way, you can dilute your acrylic paints with a bit of glycerin, liquid glycerin, and white vinegar to dilute the paint just a bit. From what I've seen on YouTube and Pinterest and such, it might make the paint more ink-like as opposed to paint-like. I've tried it. I ended up diluting mine a little bit too much, so it was a little bit runny. But again, it's something you experiment with. This is the celery heart, right? I've cut it off at the base. I've got red paint on my damp sponge ink pad. Okay, so I've got ink on my celery, pressing it onto the towel, and I'll show you this first one right away. There's a rose, and that's just the heart of a celery. I'm going to put a couple up there. Nice little rose pattern in the corner. I can keep using this same red paint inked pad a few times. You can, of course, turn your celery in different directions to get different rose directions. I'll do 3 of these because I think I would probably have to re-ink my ink pad there. So I'm putting 3 celery heart roses on there. Now I'm going to take the one celery stalk, mush it into the green paint that I still have left over here, and I'm going to use this green inked celery, there you go, can you see that, as leaves around my roses. It's just a celery heart and a celery stalk. Makes a nice rose with leaves. Red hearts, pink hearts, yellow hearts, whatever paint you want, and all kinds of combinations. So there we go. Celery heart and 1 stalk. Celery heart with a red ink paint and green from 1 stalk. Very pretty, very easy. And it's using something from your grocery. Okay. This next one, I want to do 2 different shades of blue for this item. I'm going to do some dark blue or regular blue, and I'm going to do some light blue. And after I've got it mixed up, I'm going to show you how cool this one looks. So, a little blue, a little white, a little dark blue. And because I'm not washing brushes or forks, I'm just going back and forth between the forks I've already been using. All right, so I've got blue, light blue, dark blue. Now I'm going to use the okra. This is probably my favorite piece to stamp with. It's just a plain old okra pod with 1 end cut off, any exposed seeds dug out of there. So I think I've got too much paint on there. If you're using okra and you haven't dug the seeds out all the way, like I didn't do, take a look at, test it out on the paper before you actually stamp something, because it might be clogged up. And this one is indeed clogged up because I didn't take all the seeds out all the way around. So you can learn from my mistakes and keep an eye out for how clean, oops, how clean your okra looks. All right. I'm using the light blue. I've turned my sponge into an ink pad again for the light blue. I think you're gonna like this a lot. Now I'm gonna do a little bit of the dark blue. All right. I would probably mix up some purple also, just to give it some variety. Back and forth, light blue, dark blue. It's all however you want it to turn out. All right, so this is what the okra prints. Aren't those fabulous? All those little flowers. You can put leaves around them. I'll show you a spoon leaf. You can put grass under them with a fork. I'm going to put some green leaves around my little, they look like forget-me-nots. Again, you've got all kinds of opportunities. Whatever you find around your house, test it out. Try it out on the white paper. I'm just doing the same thing with the spoon. I'm rolling it across the paint, and then I'm coming over and I'm rolling it across the towel. I'm doing a dish towel. This one's a flour sack dish towel. Again, from Walmart, packs of 5. Maybe you and somebody else in the club want to buy and share a pack. Or once you get going with this, you might be making 5 different designs for yourself, for your friends, for family. And this is how easy it is to add more little details to your flower design. I think the okra looks great. If you have okra in your garden, let it get big. I believe you'll be able to find that in the stores. All right, so here's the okra, little flowers with leaves added. Oops, here we go. I think that shows up pretty well. So that's basically it. You're picking items around your kitchen. You're picking items in your fridge. You are cutting a straight line. You're gathering items in the kitchen that have cool designs like the fork, the spoon, potato masher. One thing I didn't try out was this little pepper, so I'll just do a quick stamp of that to see if it turns out nicely or if it's just odd. I would typically practice on the white paper to see how the design would look. But that's not bad. I could add things in there. This is just seat of the pants. Let's see how it looks. So that was just using a pepper. Cut in half, stamping along there. You could print the little okra flowers inside those black circles. You can combine all kinds of things. It doesn't matter. You can use all different colors. The possibilities are not totally endless, but you've got so many things in your kitchen available for this. All right, let me get back to the share screen part, and let's see where we are along the way. So, okay, so we've used a glass, a small glass. We've used, I didn't do the pencil. Anyways, just a little circle. Anything else that you find that has an interesting flat side shape? Okay. You can read this later. things you can do with items around the house that are other than food. Whoops. Okay, and this is what we've done. We've got the paint spread out. We've got some paint on a damp sponge, using it as an ink pad. Testing it out on paper, I recommend that. I simply went straight to the towel. All right. You can read this on to later at any time. All right. Smooth it out. Print like you did on the paper. You can even go back with a paintbrush and paint in details. You can go back with a Sharpie marker and add more detail to them. All kinds of things. All right. Let the project dry. You might want to iron it to further set the colors. I have found that the acrylic paint does stay after washing and drying. If you've got acrylic paint on your clothes from some other projects, that might still be there. But ironing is not a bad idea. All right. And then take pictures of your project and share them with the club. Here are some of the things that I have done previous to today. The orange with the pulp removed, I had diluted the paint so it ran a bit, but it's still kind of a cool effect. There is an earlier okra using red paint. 3 of the glasses, also with a little okra design in the middle of it. Fork, hatch mark, hatch mark. Potato masher does a funny little, squiggly line. You can incorporate that into all kinds of ideas. This one you can take a look at later. Some of the things that we tried out, a friend and I tried out that did not work were fern leaves, flower leaves, hosta leaves. A pretzel didn't work particularly well. A bell pepper sliced lengthwise wasn't all that interesting, and diluted paint had mixed success. But the list on the left was more successful. The glass, the fork, the citrus, the okra, the potato masher, an apple half you see near the bottom of this example, plain, and then I also carved some slices into it, and then overlaid some things. Okay, here's some other things I've done more recently, not quite today, but just recently. All right, there's the blue okra flowers and leaves done by fork and spoon edges. The roses with the celery, just like I showed you today. Kind of worked, kind of didn't work. It was an orange with the pulp removed. If you got this kind of kitchen decor, citrus, this works nicely. The yellow didn't show up, I think didn't show up particularly well, but it is subtle. So there's an advantage to that. And then this one is pretty funny. The trees are broccoli, not even a whole broccoli head, but part of a broccoli head sliced right down the middle. The purple flowers, you can tell, are okra. The yellow flowers were a pencil eraser, and the red centers were the pencil tip. The grass is a fork, the leaves are a spoon edge, and then the birds are another spoon edge. So that's how you're going to do this. If you watched this before the November meeting, then maybe you've already got your materials gathered. If you're watching this at the November meeting, maybe I'm reenacting it. Maybe I'm doing it live. But certainly during the November meeting, you can chat questions to me. And thanks for watching. Sorry we couldn't do this in person, but still, it's going to be fun. You're going to come up with some fabulous stuff. And I can't wait to see what you've done. Bye.